Hey, Geekscapists, welcome to a brand new Geekscape podcast. I'm Jonathan London, your host, and we've got a great show for you. Our friend Krystina was going to join us, and she actually fell sick there at the last minute. It's not COVID. We know what's going on. It's not COVID. She actually was going to go battle Black. What's his name? Kyrgyzstan. this Wookiee that we've got in the new Boba Fett series that we first met here on the show when we were talking about the Darth Vader comic book series. We'll talk a little bit about the new Book of Boba Fett episode 3. We're going to be talking a little bit about that new Peacemaker show on HBO Max. We're going to be talking about a whole lot of geeky stuff on this episode of Geekscape. So I'm really glad you're there. Katie's going to be joining us, and we're going to be joined now by my good friend Garrett Briones, who, if you are a subscriber to the Geekscape YouTube channel, which you should be, he did a fantastic video on the Matrix. So go check it out. Not right now. No, you stay right there and you watch this if you're watching live on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. Stay right where you are. But check that video out later. You really should be subscribing to the Geekscape TV YouTube page. If you are a subscriber to the podcast, I'm going to take a moment real quick to tell you to go ahead and pat yourself on the back, because just found out today we are number 47 in film interview podcasts, and the numbers could not be any better right now. When I first started Geekscape 15 years ago, it was really easy to get great numbers up on the charts. It was, there weren't a whole lot of podcasts, but now in 2022, everybody listening to the show has a podcast. And to be able to climb the charts and gather numbers and get people in on the Geekscape, the mainstream show, is just awesome. So I found out today that we are at number 47 on film interview podcasts. That means a lot to me. Those are the episodes I really enjoy the most. Not that I don't enjoy the news and reviews episodes with Ian. We have those coming up, but I do like meeting filmmakers, and I do like meeting storytellers and finding out why they tell stories. So if you missed last week's episode with the producers of Werner Herzog's Grizzly Man, please go watch that episode or go listen to that episode, because I thought it was a great episode, and the numbers reflect it. We had great numbers on that one. But this episode you're about to get, this one right here, is like the episodes that started it all. Some news, some reviews, telling you about some movies, video games, and comics maybe you've never heard about, and you're like, oh, I should be watching that TV show that I heard about on Geekscape. Don't worry. We got your back. We've had your back for a long time, 15 years, and we're going to keep having your back. So with that, I'd like to also show you video streamers who are watching this our brand new opening credits. Let's roll it. Hey, welcome to a brand new Geekscape. I'm Jonathan, and just said that in the theme song. And yes, we are your 47th ranked in the U.S. film interview podcast. But that's not all we do. We talk movies, video games, comic books, all that good stuff. And we're going to be talking that on the show today. So, I let one of my producers know, hey, we're 47th in the U.S. right now. And he said, let's get you to 30. So we can only do that with your help, Geekscapists. If you're listening to this right now, write us a review, whatever podcatcher you're on, and hit a share button, send it to your friends and be like, you should be listening to this podcast. It's awesome. Maybe we'll do something awesome if we crack the top 30. Who knows? But it does help us get better guests. It does help us open up sponsorship opportunities, things like that. And we're just going to feed all that stuff right back to you. So if you want to help improve Geekscape, help us out. Hit that share button. All right. One big improvement we made in the last 2 years was the addition of a co-host. That's right. She's right here. Her name's Katie. You love her. I love her. Here she is.
We're 47th. We're 47.
You know what?
Cool.
I showed you how far we leapfrogged in the last month, and I was like, okay, like that is the work we've been doing, because we did a lot of work in December. We did, we were loud.
Yeah.
There
was a lot going
results. There are a lot going on. So just saying, let's keep it going.
I know. I'm so excited for the future. Like, there's so many things that like we're not even talking about just yet, but it's just like there's some good stuff coming, and I'm having a fun time, having a real fun time.
Yeah. Katie, you've been okay? Like, I've been reading this stuff on the Twitter. Not that you can trust the Twitter, but your internet.
Oh my God, it's
like all weekend. Geekscape, if you don't know this, Katie makes her like living hosting gigs on the internet for different, she's like hosting games. She's a host. And right now in the pandemic, she needs the internet to be able to, she needs the pandemic to be able to do these virtual digital. I mean, no, she doesn't need the pandemic. She needs the internet. No, nobody needs the pandemic. During the pandemic, she's needed the internet to work so she could do her job. And I see you and Mark Harmon, your fiance, hosting Hampton, my bad. Mark Harmon. Mark Harmon. Wasn't Mark Harmon Mark Harmon, wasn't he on those TV shows back in like the 80s, 90s? Oh, he was in After School or something like that.
I'm only thinking of Dan Harmon at the moment. So
Mark Harmon. No, I'm going to IMDb. Mark Harmon's a thing.
Here we go.
No. Mark Harmon. Like you recognize Mark Harmon.
My fiance's last name.
He can stay right out of this conversation because Mark Harmon Mark Harmon was like in NCIS.
Oh, got it. Oh,
he was in Freaky Friday. Mm-hmm, you know who Mark Harmon is. Don't lie to me, Katie.
I do. Now that you reminded me, but I could only think of Dan Harmon.
Okay, here we go. Here you go. Let's do this, Katie, because you and Mark Hampton were locked out of the internet.
We were.
Here's a picture. If you're watching this, here's a picture of Mark Hampton or Harmon.
That's
Mark Harmon. You stay out of this.
That's not my fiance.
That's Mark Harmon. All right. So let's say you and Mark Hampton are out, and Mark Harmon comes over to you and does like indecent proposal. Okay, what do you do?
He comes over.
Okay, listen. Considering you're hosting games on the internet for money, if he says $1 million, what if he stop it? What if Mark Harmon goes to Mark Hampton? Mark Harmon of After School NCIS goes to Mark Hampton, your fiance,
and Freaky Friday,
and he goes $1 million.
Mark could definitely go for it.
Okay, what if he comes to you and he's eyeing up Mark Hampton and he wants to do a double ham sandwich?
Listen,
a har ham sandwich. What if he comes to you and he offers you $1 million for that indecent proposal? What do you do?
That's what I'm saying. If it was cool with Mark, then it's cool with me.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Not bad. Not bad, Katie.
I mean, $1 million more ain't bad. It ain't bad. It's a lot further than I am right now. We'll just say that.
You're on Geekscape. What are you talking about?
Apparently my name popped up on howricharethe.com or some bullshit.
Yeah.
And it thinks that I'm a millionaire Instagram star who's 22. And I was like, that's right. Yep, that's me.
Yeah. Jim Puckernelli, he's one of the most loyal Geekscapists, and I love him dearly. He said, Katie, congratulations on your engagement to the star of NCIS and Summer School.
Wait, no.
Summer School.
And Freaky Friday.
Harmon is going to put Katie in his harem. What do you think of that?
Yes, I like that.
And Bolt T, Matt Kelly, this one's for you. He wants to know, can we get a Why We Love Summer School video? What if we can get Mark Harmon on the show to be with Katie on the show, and maybe invite Mark Hampton on the show
to do an indecent proposal? I would love
we're not putting these words in Mark Harmon's word. Like Mark Harmon somewhere just being he's probably being like
being himself.
He's innocently like acting. He's trying to remember his lines for a set in the morning. He's just being a family man, and these dingbats over here on the internet are making fun. Mark Harmon, if you're listening to this,
not of him.
I think we're now going to absolutely try and get you on the show. We love you. We have a big Summer School fan base, and let's work on Mark Harmon coming on the show.
Let's do it. I'm so in.
I haven't watched one episode of NCIS. I don't know what that is.
I think I maybe caught some when I was flipping through channels a couple times.
Yeah,
I had friends who were very into it. They knew
really
all.
How old were they? Grandma, you fell asleep again.
They were younger than me.
Really?
I'm not even kidding you. Yeah, it was like underclassmen of my college. I don't know. It's who knows why.
How
Probably
many of those people became Undertakers? Like, wait, how exciting? I don't know how exciting that show is. Like,
they would binge watch it. It was just like it was on, so they would like get into it and they would like have like little parties where they would just watch it. And I was like, I don't know. And then there was also the people that were doing like the Jane Austen binge watching. It was like there wasn't quite
that's a binge
place.
reading. Jane Austen's a binge
No,
reading.
the like binge the Jane Austen movies. So like all the Pride and
Oh,
Prejudice, the Sense and
yeah.
Sensibility. No, I know. I learned how to
would join that
crochet at
group.
those, but
I would join that group and I would show up in character.
you,
I'd have like
you'd be surprised at how many people would be right there with you.
I'd show up with a lace fan. I'd have a merkin. I would do the whole thing. What?
Why would you
What?
have a merkin?
It's of the time. It's to like make sure the lice. I don't know. It's a merkin. It's Jane Austen. So yeah, but wasn't that like a stinky time for people? Isn't that like a pretty stinky time? The Jane Austen times, and everybody's like trying to seduce each other, and they're like, "Oh, what romance?" It's like romance. You need to take a bath, and you need to put on some perfume and deodorant. But if I was in those Jane Austen things, I think you need to have a shower every hour.
Do you know what a merkin is? Because I feel like I'm thinking of a totally different thing, and I don't know.
It's like a beaver pelt. It's like a beaver pelt that you put on your stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. You put it on there to draw the lice off, and then you burn it.
Okay, I know it for its uses in porn, not in olden times.
No. Olden times, the original merkin. Jim Pelgrelli just says Jonathan doesn't know what a merkin is. I think. Okay, Jim, tell us what a merkin is in the comments. If you can, I'll throw it up on the screen. But listen, like, yeah, no, I would. This is what I would do. Okay, and if I joined your Jane Austen group, your Jane, I would do this. Mark Harmon would be there. We'd all be sitting there with our tea and our, we're talking about the young gentlemen and stuff like that. That it would just smell bad. It would smell bad. Their teeth weren't good.
No, they were not.
And it's like, but now when we think of the Jane Austen stuff, we're like, ooh, how romantic. No, I gotta tell you,
I'm sorry.
Their skin, their teeth, everything must have been so nasty. They probably looked like the Crypt Keeper, but it was the best they had. It was the best around.
About the room, they were airing out a tooth.
Ooh, you'd need to air out because you haven't had a shower in 2 days. Not without some rat swimming in your water. Like,
I feel
come
like
on,
you and I
now.
are not Jane Austen's audience. I really don't think we are.
Okay, Jim Pelgrelli, to my credit, he's back and he said, "Okay, Jonathan got the general description right, but the idea that it was used to get rid of scabies isn't one I've heard before."
He said lice.
I said lice, and maybe
you may have said scabies at one point.
No, but listen,
no way
Jim,
to rewind.
It is a fake pubic area. That is what it is.
That is what it is. But I only know it within the porn realm. I did not know it about ye olden.
Oh, it's a historical thing.
I didn't realize that.
Merkin is a historical thing. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
At the college, they taught the Jane Austen, but they didn't teach Merkins. What kind of history is that? That's critical Merkin history right there. They're being very selective about the history they had. That's critical pubic theory. Oh. Not critical to the race theory. They're carving out the parts that they want you to not learn about.
We need
to teach. Not only do we need to teach critical race theory in this country, we need to teach critical sex ed theory in this country too.
Honestly, I think that'd be great. I think the more people learn about things, like the less weirded out and the less weird people get.
Oh yeah, David he just said, "Hey, Merkin sounds like Merlin." It does.
It can.
Yeah, it's one difference. And you know what? If you put on a merkin and you have lice down there, they climb onto the merkin and you throw it in the fire and they disappear like magic. So I can see we're very much looks like Merlin.
Lice down south.
It was those Jane Austen era. There was everybody had lice. Everybody had lice and STDs.
Everybody itchy.
Welts and stuff. Like, they don't shower, they don't bathe. It's Jane Austen time. But then you watch some movie and people are like, ooh, to do. Oh, so nice. And of course, they have perfume everywhere. They smell horrid.
Terrible.
They all smelled like hobos. No offense. But like everybody in those Jane Austen things. I'm just glad those Jane Austen movies aren't like in smell-o-vision or something, because they'd be like, oh yeah, they should smell like perfumiers. No, they shouldn't. They should smell like homeless people. No offense, but like they should smell like people who haven't bathed, because that's the era.
Yeah,
Nothing romantic about it. Nothing romantic about it.
not
I
at
would
all.
slap somebody across the face to start a duel in the hopes they'd kill me. It would smell so bad. That's the way that would go down.
Oh, it'd be great for a new podcast. Smell
Yeah.
up cast.
Well, Bolt T has an idea. He says, a new podcast, Critical Sex Ed Theory. Let's start it up. I probably shouldn't be
Perfect.
teaching it. All right. Speaking of things I probably shouldn't be qualified to teach, our friend
That's a
today
great
who's
segue.
joining us, he is a new person to the Geekscape. He actually hosted a video already on Geekscape TV on our YouTube channel, all about the Matrix. And he started out his relationship with me as my student. He was my film student, Garrett Briones. And Heidi's in the other room. She says, I keep hearing you knocking Jane Austen from the other room, and I'm going to keep doing it. And I'll do it in the...
Easy to
Yeah,
do.
it's easy to do. She's not very happy. She showed me an emoji. Okay, so here's Garrett, my former film student, who is now a Geekscape contributor. Garrett, sorry you had to sit through that, but I just think
I'm so
science...
happy. I'm so
needs to be
happy
taught.
that I get brought in after the Merkin talk. That's exactly how I pictured my Geekscape debut. I laying awake at night thinking, how will I debut? And I get brought in after,
Yeah, they'd be pretty stinky. They have a bunch of lumps, bumps.
you know?
Let's be honest, though.
memorable.
Any
best
different than
intro
how I
you could've
teach you film?
No. It was a great old time. 4 hours of just people talking about whatever we wanted to talk about, doing whatever.
Were
So,
you just
yeah.
talking about how like your mom calls Jonathan Mr.
Mr.
London?
Oh yeah, she probably thinks he's like
I
the
hope she's
sweetest,
watching right now.
salt of the earth, which he is. Do it,
I'm a nice guy.
And yeah, so when I met him, it was a beautiful day. He was on a panel talking about how he, talked to Stan. Oh well, I had, Kevin Smith reached out to me, and I had Stan Lee. And I was like, this guy's pretty cool. And I went up to him. I talked to him. My mom, was very nice to my mom. She calls him Mr. London to this day.
The school parades me around because they know I'm the cool teacher.
Yeah.
And they want the students to come there.
That's what we treat you as. You are the cool teacher.
Yeah.
Doesn't follow the rules. He does whatever he
like
wants.
Mark Harmon of summer school. Do you see how this is all tied in, Katie? When Mark Harmon comes on the show, we're going to be like the cool teachers right here. There's levels to this. Bolt T wants to know, Garrett, do you know who your father is, and is it Willem Dafoe?
What's weird is someone once told me I looked like James Franco, and now I'm being told I look like Willem Dafoe. So people are just telling me I look like a goblin, but I'll take it. I'll take Willem. I love Willem.
Garrett's something of a scientist himself, guys. You will find that out.
I'm a podcaster myself.
Garrett, there are several students that I've had over the years have been a part of Geekscape here and there, like Guy Pereira, who's in Brazil right now. I talked to him over the weekend. He just finished his second film. I loved having you as a student. I like the students. I like all my students, but the students who can speak on the geek level, I gotta admit, they have a little bit of a
edge.
We just have there's like a shorthand, right?
Yeah.
If I have to explain something to them, I can go into geek speak to explain it to them, and I think that helps.
I remember one of my film professors was talking about like just story arc and whatnot, and we were talking about A New Hope, and I was like banging back and forth questions and just like, okay, so like at this point, is this the Act 2 break or whatever? And you're like, yeah, and then the entire class was completely lost, and I was like, how are you lost on Star Wars?
Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense.
It's at that point, it may have been the movie that most human beings on this planet have ever seen. So, like, what are you? I don't know what you're talking about.
That's the exact example my teacher, Jack Weinstein, who did Screenwriting, I think that was the exact example he used was A New Hope, because he figured everyone had seen it, and it worked out. Everyone knew what he was talking about.
That's I think when people talk about, like, every time anybody writes about the hero's journey, it's usually like the picture in the captions is probably Luke on Tatooine.
Yeah,
without doubt, that's always like the whole hero's journey Joseph Campbell example. And we talked last week or the week before, I think we talked 2 weeks ago, Katie, about the idea of like the hero's journey being a very male thing about a guy having to accumulate and come from nothing. And then we talked 2 weeks ago about how the female hero's journey is an acknowledgement of, hey, I've already been a badass, so just acknowledge me as a badass. And that was eye-opening. I try to like acknowledge the hero's journey stuff and all that classical thing. It's best to subvert it. I just think the formulaic stuff that who knows, maybe to my detriment, but Garrett is a former film student. He's a filmmaker, and he's been helping around Geekscape. He's been making videos, writing cool stuff, and you've seen them in the comments every week. So thanks for jumping in, dude. Like
Of course.
Krystina went to fight Black Chrysanthemum, and I was like,
Chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum, and I was like that evil Wookiee, and I was like, well, we need somebody to jump in. Let's get Garrett.
I could
Cool.
not, because I saw his name spelled before I actually knew
Mhm.
what his name was, and I was like, how on earth?
I
did
have been
you-
reading that name for 6 years, and I didn't know until 2 weeks ago how to say it. I've never, anytime I've ever tried to tell someone about him, I always say his name is Black Curse. He's just a really cool Wookiee. Okay,
Cool
like
dude.
I don't know
when
how-
Bing Na finally said Black Chrysanthemum, I was like, oh,
Oh,
okay. Last episode. The other one, Garrett, who wrote that first Vader series that we read?
that was
had
Kieran Gillen.
So Kieran Gillen was on Twitter, and he was just like, he loves that this character he created 6 years ago for the Darth Vader comic is finally getting like acknowledgement because he's in the Boba Fett series. And he wrote that in the original scripts he didn't have the name for him, and he called him New Baka. Like he knew he wanted to make a new Wookiee. He knew he was going to introduce him, but he called him New Baka. It's pretty smart, pretty funny. That was a placeholder name.
fair.
So if you want to call him New Baka Geekscape, go for it.
I love
That's
Nubaka so hard.
Yeah, New Baka's pretty good. Big Yanks, who you might have seen in the new Geekscape intro, singing with me on a escalator, said, New Baka, I'm stealing the punchline. Yeah, no, it's Kieran Gillen stuff. He's a good writer. So Garrett, how's the transition post-graduation been?
It's been interesting. I previously lived about 3 hours up north, so I'm here in LA. I'm in a brand new apartment. That's why it might be a little echoey. But I previously am from a very small town called Porterville, California. Most people haven't heard of it. And so after college, I finished. I was ready to take on Hollywood, and I was about over 100 miles away from it, working at just a retail store to save up money. But now I am here with my girlfriend, who is an editor, and my best friend, Jack Watson. He is coming from Utah. He is also an editor. He went to CCH. He and I were the duo of CCH. Everyone, we walked down the halls. Everyone
Was that a thing?
Huh?
That college had 2 hallways, by the way.
Yes, they did.
Had
And
an
they were so
upstairs
small
hallway
you
and
had
a
to
downstairs
scream.
hallway.
They were so small that you had to scream points as loudly as you could, so you didn't ram someone with a cart. I almost can't tell you how many times I
No,
almost got
those are
pinned
the
in.
rules. If you're
Yes.
carrying equipment, you have to yell
That is
points.
true.
That
That
is
is
on
true.
set.
I would
That
do it
is
as
anywhere.
obnoxiously as I could. It was always a good time. I would rather
On
be
your left.
obnoxious and not hit someone. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, do it. So Garrett, you're out here. Matt Kelly's already recruited you to start making videos to the Geekscape channel, and yeah, we should get you on. You have your own podcast you want to do one day.
Matt Kelly and I are working on getting that onto the network. It's called Masters of the Media. I actually co-host it with Jack. We kind of similar to this show. We just pick a topic, whether it's a movie, a comic, a TV game, and we are really or at least I am. Jack's a little cynical boy. I always want to talk about the positives. There's 1,000 places you can go to have people, nitpick and go detail by detail of what doesn't work. But I like to focus on the filmmaking aspects that work, the character arcs that work, what hits us, things like that. And we've had a great time doing it. And Matt Kelly really enjoyed it, and he recruited us. We already are making videos. Jack and I write the videos, and I do the script, and I narrate it, and then Jack edits them. And we've been having a lot of fun. We have one coming out next month, and we're just trying to stake our claim in the Geekscape extended universe.
What
So
are you going
one
to call
day
that?
Garrett's
What are you going to call that? Garrettscape. There you go.
on my own niche. We have our own
Exactly.
little sub.
We love you, man. Big Yanks has already said Garrett is my type of guy.
Thank you.
And to clarify Bold T's question of Jack, who another former student of mine who is going to be Garrett's roommate as soon as he moves to LA. So yeah, come on in. I don't know. It's fun. I think that anybody who celebrates this kind of stuff has a place in Geekscape. I tried to make that opening intro video as encompassing as possible, like have a little bit of video games, male, female, all sorts of stuff, like some aliens in there, some robots, like Geekscape's for everybody. It's all fun. But we did mention we've been talking about Book of Boba Fett, like we've been mentioning it. Why don't we just talk about that episode that just came out, episode 3? Geekscape, if you haven't watched it yet, I don't think we're going to spoil too much. There's 7 episodes in the season. We're talking about episode 3.
Mhm.
What did y'all think? Because this is an episode that started to become a little bit divisive with the fan base.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it felt almost like a tonal shift. That I wasn't quite ready for. I thought it was cool, like that we've got bionic people. I mean, that it's that's used throughout the entire Star Wars universe, but like these were like specific like punk kids. Felt very.
I mean, Luke
cyberpunk-y.
has,
Yeah,
Vader
he's got
has,
his.
a bunch of
Yeah,
these people
everybody
have
does. Yeah.
bionic robotic stuff. Yeah.
But it's interesting to like see a gang that's like specifically this kind of group of people. It's interesting. I wasn't huge on the bikes. I I thought they were a little bright. It felt like the Power Rangers showed up after all of this like very dusty, dirty Tatooine like experience that we've had. Like these very muted colors, and then these very bright things. That's like this is a different generation of kid.
And they had
okay.
almost like a 50s like rocket
Yeah.
style to them. And my friend Zach Morris said, if you find him on Instagram, folks, go look up Zach Morissette's artwork. He likes to not only doodle, he's great. He's at a lot of artist alleys here in LA at comic conventions, but he also does a lot of Photoshop. And he took Pee Wee Herman from Pee Wee's Big Adventure and put him in the bike gang. And I had to like look closely to notice the difference because it fits so well in there. And that received a lot of criticism. And was it my favorite? I think everything that Katie said is warranted. Like it does feel like a tone shift to have these brighter characters in this kind of muted crime underbelly storyline. But I think what's really alarming to me as a fan is, okay, Star Wars isn't ours. Like, let's just face it. Star Wars is, it's for the entire fan base. And if you're going to like knock something for having 50s and 60s influences, you're knocking all of Star Wars, because that's what that is. And George Lucas has put that stuff in episode 2 with the diner scene. Like there's been lots of 50s and 60s influences. Those are things that George Lucas celebrated throughout, and to have them show up here, yes, it felt a little out of character for what we've seen in the Boba Fett series or seen from Tatooine period, but you know what? Let's see where it goes. I think that's how you have to take a lot of this stuff, especially in the serialized stuff that we're getting a lot of right now. It's like, okay, we'll see where it goes. You didn't like one of the episodes of Hawkeye? We'll see where it goes, because everybody seemed to enjoy it by the end.
Yeah. Absolutely love that. But yeah, no, and I thought it was, I feel like I would really love to be a Favreau friend, because I feel like Favreau has all of his buddies in these, and I'm like, I could be your friend in the Star Wars universe here.
What would you play, Katie?
Oh gosh, maybe another Rancor Wrangler. That could be a Danny Trejo, right? Like I fit the build. Yeah. Also, Danny Trejo looks like so fit. What happened there?
He works out, man. Like, that's one of the things we got in this episode. We got a brand new Rancor to fill the empty pit that's in Jabba's palace, and
he's been hopping in that back to tank. He's been
the tank. There were a couple things in this episode that I enjoyed. I like the surprise. First off, we'd been talking on the show about the back and forth between the earlier stuff that takes place with the Tusken Raiders and the stuff that takes place in the quote unquote modern day, which is after Return of the Jedi and after Mandalorian season 2. And there's been a disbalance a little bit between that stuff. It seems like it's going to get settled here. We still don't know in the modern day what he's taking from that prequel or from that earlier flashback storyline, the narrative. But it definitely progressed more. We started to find out that, he's been a sucker, and the bike gang back then is somebody that he's going to have to take care of. We haven't seen him do that yet. We're probably going to see him do that. And it might be like how he sees his power on Tatooine, or at least gets, I don't know, Slave One back, his armor back. There's a lot of stuff we haven't seen him do yet. The other thing I liked was,
it feels like I'm watching 2 seasons at the same time.
Yes. But here we have Chrysanthemum like yank you out of it, and then he fights you. And I like that. I love the twin Hutts, and I gotta say I like Danny Trejo showing up with a new Rancor and being the Rancor trainer, because it's a Robert Rodriguez thing. You're gonna have Danny Trejo show up.
Right. Well, and I think it's interesting. We kind of get more of an emotional understanding of a Rancor itself, which is really interesting, and like how it imprints on humans. And I thought that detail was actually something like really cool. That I was like, oh, that's something that I would actually be interested in knowing more about, like this creature and everything around it.
Yeah. What were your thoughts, Garrett? Like, people were pretty hard on this episode, and they seemed really misinformed.
Well, speaking to the kind of tonal shift, and you even mentioned it, like, something like Attack of the Clones has the 50s diner in it, but I'm a young lad, but I remember back when people didn't like the prequels and they weren't, hailed as the greatest thing ever. According to the internet, they're the greatest thing. As I love the prequels for what they are. I love the sequel trilogy. I love the original trilogy. I love all of it. And if you look at something like Attack of the Clones, which, in revisionist history, everyone loves now, there's, in the second act, you have like Anakin Skywalker murdering, slaughtering Tusken Raiders. And then we cut to, a Flash Gordon, battle the big monsters in the third act. Like, these tonal shifts have always been there. That's just inherent in the DNA of Star Wars. When you're pulling from inspirations of samurai films, Flash Gordon, you're going to get these. Some of it is not going to always gel with one another. But I think that's something that is to Star Wars benefit, that it is such a wide universe and it feels so lived in, because, the culture where I'm living right now is different than the culture in my small hometown. Things are jarring. They're different. There's new generations. Like I didn't mind I thought some of the blocking was kind of off on the thing. I wonder if a lot of it is
the fight scene or the chase sequence.
The chase scene. Yeah. I wonder how. I think sometimes the limitations of the volume is shown. The volume what they shoot Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian in. I think sometimes it could be a tad bit limiting, just because they're working with only so much relative space.
Mm-hmm. And what Garrett's talking about is that virtual background that they're using to shoot, that they've used for Mandalorian, and it's an incredible piece of technology. But for really shooting these giant, you kind of miss the Matrix freeway when you are trying to do a chase sequence.
Exactly.
And you can't. I thought that the biggest drawback for me on that last chase sequence was them trying to create the sense of speed.
Yes.
Yeah, it felt like the frame rates felt off in comparison. It was like the background wasn't really matching the foreground's speed, or vice versa. I'm not really sure.
Yet they were able to do it with the train. The train looked like it was moving at a high
amazing,
speed in episode 2. So it is what it is. I'm actually excited to see where it goes. One piece of criticism of the Boba Fett series that I thought actually had a little bit of I don't know. I mean, it made sense. I don't think that we should negate the ability to tell new stories in the Star Wars universe. Yeah. But somebody said this is the first Star Wars where we haven't seen space travel, other planets, or the
Jedi
scope.
powers. Yeah.
Everything is kind of just stuck on Tatooine, and and I think that's a warranted argument, in that this is the one that feels, as far as the scope of the universe, it has the smallest. You're in this kind of back end desert planet. Things are either coming to you or we're not going to see them. We don't have space travel. We don't have the discovery of new things, new planets. Mandalorian, there was a new planet almost every episode, and it felt like it had massive scope. We don't have that here, but this is a much more personal story, to which some people on the internet this one went viral. The guy who said that Boba Fett should be like the Punisher, and this should be R-rated.
Oh, like, right.
Where are my titties and blood and Boba Fett? It's like, what?
I mean, it's pretty violent to begin with. I've actually been kind of shocked that Disney has let them go as far with some of these Boba hits. Like the first time he brought his thing up.
What did you say? This is just a series of head trauma.
The entire series of the show, because he gets hit in the head so many times. He gets thrown and his head smacks against something. He gets smacked on his head. Someone whacks him upside the head. I don't understand how his skull is that tough.
I don't. My response is, I'm sorry that this piece of media marketed and made for a teenage and young audience isn't hitting all the check marks of being R-rated. It should not be R-rated. It shouldn't be R-rated. And I think we learned that when we see there's a place for R-rated content. I think DC has done that. We'll talk about Peacemaker here in a bit. I love the Suicide Squad that James Gunn did. I love Peacemaker now on HBO Max. But that can exist in the same universe as Superman. That's just not going to come from Disney.
Mhm.
And Matt Kelly just added another
Hey,
show to the
podcast.
podcast network. There's the siren. All right, Matt Kelly, congratulations. We now have 38,000 shows. I don't think we can argue that Star Wars should ever be R-rated. It's for kids.
I don't
it's for
think
young
that's in
people.
its DNA. It's just that's
No.
never. I don't think that's ever something George Lucas ever wanted it to be. And I know there is a certain level of grit and to the Star Wars universe, but to say, I mean, like let me rephrase this. I like the Punisher a lot. I think some people misunderstand the point of that character. For people to say like,
Oh yeah.
X character should be like the Punisher to kind of insinuate that, being a psychopathic murderer makes you a badass. I think there's too many people that completely misunderstand what that is supposed to be. And if the Boba Fett show was just him, 7 episodes of him just murdering people, sure, would it look cool visually? Maybe, yeah, but what's the point? Is like I don't see how you could just want that. I don't. There's fan films that do that, and they're
Right.
great, but
No, they're not.
you want to
Some of them
Right.
are just
some of them are,
Yeah.
Some
some
are
are
cool, or
are
in
technically
concept.
impressive.
yes,
Yeah.
But they're also 7 minutes long.
yes. There's
And,
different.
like-
7 minutes versus 7
Yeah.
episodes is very
Yeah,
different.
if you're gonna watch
storytelling.
7 episodes of Boba Fett just murdering people and flamethrowing people,
Yeah, it's
like it's like, hey, that'd be fun for an episode, but
Yeah,
Right.
you'd feel
right.
pretty sick by the end of it. Bolty has a good point. A lot of that stuff with Marvel, the Marvel Max line, did not have one good series. It says, I think that the Punisher stuff that Ennis did was
Yeah.
good. If we segue into Peacemaker, I feel like Peacemaker and HBO Max feels like a Garth Ennis series, maybe more so that The Boys does. Like,
Yeah.
Peacemaker is a lot of fun.
Mhm.
You've watched the
That-
first episode. Garrett, you've watched all 3?
yes,
As well?
I have.
Yeah, it is a fun series, and
I love it.
The
I'm
opening
all
title
for this.
sequence.
Won't skip it.
Love it.
I will never skip the opening
I
title
was-
sequence of
I
this
was
one.
I was watching it. I was like, is this happening or am I tripping right now? Like, what?
Yeah.
Amazing. That one kind of took me off guard because I knew that it was like, an HBO style, like fun, wacky one. I have not seen the latest Suicide Squad. So yeah.
There's shots of it in the
I know
previously
I saw.
on.
No, I saw. Yeah.
Well, it's just great. It caught you up, and I think a lot of the surprises that are in
because
that.
I don't think I'm going to watch it. Just 'cause I'm
Oh
like,
no, Katie, please
I've heard.
watch it.
I've
No,
heard.
please watch James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. It is so much fun, and it has my favorite quote unquote DC villain in it.
Okay.
Is it a villain or is
He's
it
not the
just
villain.
I don't know if it's a villain. It's
He's
just
not the
a
villain, but he
parasitic.
might be.
It's just a parasitic space force that ended up on
Yeah.
Earth and just wants to procreate and have friends. But
Mhm.
yeah, no, please watch The Suicide Squad. And I think it's the best. No offense to the fans of their previous Harley Quinn iterations, but I think that this is the best Harley Quinn that we've seen on film. She's
I
awesome
concur.
in The Suicide Squad.
Good
The
to know.
Suicide Squad is really fun. You should watch it,
Okay.
Katie.
Okay.
It'll
All right.
really give you an appreciation for the character turn that he does in Peacemaker, because especially as you go into episode 2 and 3, there's a sadness to the character and a
No.
rising self-awareness to the character that I think
Which is brought
started
up.
in Suicide
so
Squad.
the female character that we kind of follow in the beginning here, Danielle Brown, I forget what her character's name is, but she's a phenomenal actress, and I was so excited to see her in this. If you haven't
From
seen
Orange
it
is the New
before,
Black.
yes, and also
she's
like
awesome.
several other great so many great shows. And she's one of those actresses that since Orange is the New Black, she's popped up in several random things, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad. Keep using her because she's a phenomenal actress. Juilliard, right? She went to Juilliard.
I'm not sure, but the whole cast clicks. I think
Yeah.
the things to celebrate here are James Gunn's scripts.
Yeah,
It's not forced dialogue. It's fun dialogue. It moves the story along. And
it's witty.
I started to think about the individual episodes, because in Book of Boba Fett, each episode has a bit of a narrative to it. And you get that even when you have these binge viewable shows and these serialized shows, you still have oh, that's the episode where they tackle this. This does feel like a multi-part long movie, because by the end of the first episode, you only have the introduction of the problem. You don't necessarily have the resolution of what the storyline for that episode was. It's going to lead to the next couple. So I think when you look at Peacemaker, it's just going to look like a different structure. It's going to look like I don't know how many episodes we get, but it's going to look like a multi-part long film. And that's its thing. And I'm loving it. But again, go back to the Suicide Squad and watch it, because the level of self-awareness that he's gaining in having to work with other people and doing things right that he didn't do right in reflection that happened in the Suicide Squad, I think is a nice arc.
Cool.
But
Okay.
you got to watch the Suicide Squad to kind of get where it started. You
it.
hear what are you with me on that one, Garrett?
I would definitely agree. That film, coming out of that movie, my favorite character was Peacemaker. I have a big fascination with John Cena. I've had it for a while because of stuff that happened in my choir high school days.
What?
What happened?
I mean, you're a big wrestling fan, but what happened?
Before I became a wrestling fan when I was 17 years old. Before that, a year prior, I was in choir in my high school. I was in the chamber and the concert choir. Okay. And every year we have this event called it's called Heartland, where we go to this kind of like cabin, sort of like wooded area. The whole choir goes. It's like a team building experience. It's amazing. Some of the best times of my life. And they have this open mic night where you can sing anything. And I got one of my buddies and I said, we're going to sing, because at the time it was when the John Cena, meme was becoming a big thing. It was a big prank call. That was the big thing. And so I was like, we're going to sing John Cena's theme. The time is now in front of it. We did a whole elaborate thing where we had John Cena t-shirts underneath that my friend Dylan made. We sounded awful. We sounded awful because we were rushed. We just had so much energy. And I'm a pretty okay singer. I mean, I was in 2 choirs, so I'm pretty okay. Okay. And it was the last performance of the night, stole the show. People forever associated me with John Cena. I'm pretty sure it's a thing that got me the choir president status a few months later. And so I've always just had a fascination with him. Then he was kind of my gateway into watching professional wrestling. I fell in love, haven't looked back since. And what I like about John Cena is, I think his role as Peacemaker, I think so far has been his best acting role, because every wrestler turned actor has their sort of niche. Batista is a character actor, and he was originally supposed to be Peacemaker. The Rock is inherently has that movie star quality where maybe he isn't necessarily diving fully into a character, but he just has that it that you want to watch. And
tons of charisma.
Cena, yes. And Cena has really, he's come up with he's found this comedy sort of niche where he kind of plays against type. And what I thought worked really well in the Suicide Squad was that whole movie just makes you think he's a joke. He's a joke. He's a joke. Oh, he's deadly, but he's inherently he's a big dumb.
Yeah.
And there's in the third act there's a twist. Like there is to steal a wrestling term, there's a heel turn where he becomes the most threatening in a movie that has like a 50-foot starfish. He becomes the most threatening thing in the movie because he's just this person that is so into the idea of nationalism and the greater good, and it's the scariest John Cena has ever been on screen. And what I was so excited about, from the end of that movie to where we start now, is this sort of, maybe it's a redemption arc, but this idea that he took the life of someone who was inherently a good man, and how can he say he's a hero? He shoots down the idea that, oh, I'm not a supervillain, I'm a superhero. How can you call yourself a superhero and someone that protects the righteousness of your country when you murdered a man who was doing something that was inherently good? And I think Cena is playing that so well that it is funny, but there is just an undercurrent of sadness to everything he does. And you kind of get the sense he wants to make amends, but he kind of
doesn't have the tools.
Yeah, he doesn't know what to do. He inherently doesn't know, especially because his dad's a dirt bag. He doesn't know. Oh,
his dad's actually an amalgamation of 2 DC villains. Like you find out later on, like what his dad's based on, and they're kind of taking 2 different DC villains and they're kind of mushing them together into this, into who his father is. None of them are big villains. Like you get some great characters in this series from the DC universe, like Vigilante. You're gonna love in the second episode. Katie, second and third episode, Vigilante is going to become maybe your favorite character, and then in the third episode, you get Judo Master. I mean, these are twerps in the DC universe, like Peacemaker. These are the biggest these are the biggest dorks in the DC universe, and James Gunn is taking them on a redemption journey, and they're so much fun to watch. Again, the scripts are just incredible, and he's directing every episode, and I think he's directing them all in a really great way.
I think he only did he didn't do all of. He wrote all of them, but he didn't direct every one of them. He did like 5, I think.
Yeah,
5
no, I've seen his writing directing credit on at least the first
3, yes.
The first 3, yeah. So let's see. Bolt T says, I like this, Garrett. Now I want to watch Suicide Squad 2. We can call it that. And Peacemaker. Jim Pugranelli, he's got his priorities there. He says, question for the group: will Peacemaker and Hardcore bang at the same time?
Oh,
at
yeah.
some point? Okay, never mind.
Mhm.
I feel Derek
Yeah.
Carnival says, I feel like it's
Probably.
hard to see him as anybody but just John Cena, which makes every one of his roles so much more entertaining. He's great. And
I think,
my brother
you
who
know-
worked with John in the WWE said John is such a good dude, and like
He seems
he said
like
he
it,
he
Yeah.
said John and Batista were both great dudes who were always buying the lunch and being good dudes. So
I was
really
gonna
love it.
say, I think the juxtaposition, because he is so inherently now tied to his WWE character, he's basically Superman in jorts. He's positioned as like an American hero, all American, the best guy ever.
Right.
He won't turn evil, and I think that, and also
But
he
not as bad as what's his name in The Boys. Like he's not like
no, yeah, he's not Homelander.
but he's
Homelander.
not
Yes.
Homelander, but he's got this like
Pepe
the Frog loving kind
exactly,
of
yeah.
personality.
And I think being Peacemaker, I think that when you see him with that in mind, I think it creates a great juxtaposition. And yeah, he seems like an all-around great guy. He has the most Make-A-Wish fulfillments of anybody on the planet. He has done like I think over 500. So yeah,
Oh
he's
wow,
just,
that's
yeah,
cool.
It's incredible.
So I think
But
his
we're
public
talking about John
persona
Cena
helps,
and not
Yes,
and
no,
the
not
Peacemaker.
Homelander
Got it.
or Peacemaker.
Yeah. So speaking of superheroes, we're supposed to get this Moon Knight trailer for the next Disney Plus series. I get the rumors that maybe Moon Knight is hitting Disney Plus on March 30th, which would probably make it the next. I'm guessing we wrap up Book of Boba Fett. Usually they go like a week or two, and then they hit us with the next Marvel, the next Disney series, or Star Wars series. Moon Knight March 30th. That might give us enough time for one other series to slip in there. Would it be She-Hulk? I don't think that would be Andor or what we got. It might be Miss Marvel, but I don't think it would be Andor
the
or
Marvels, but I don't know.
or
I
the
feel
other
like
Star Wars series based on Obi-Wan.
Right, that would be exciting. I would love to see She-Hulk because Tatiana Maslany is just one of my all-time favorite actresses, and she's so amazing. And I just want to. I've heard so much about this, and we just had that one glimpse, and all I'm wanting is just like a trailer, just any kind of storyline, anything. I would love to see.
But we haven't had a trailer for Miss Marvel, and we haven't had a trailer for She-Hulk.
We had a teaser, didn't we?
I think
It was
She-Hulk
like a
did get
larger teaser. Like here's
Yeah.
what's coming.
Here's what's coming to Disney
yeah.
I
Plus.
didn't watch it, but I.
But we
know
also
that.
got a little bit of Moon Knight in this. And Moon Knight, like people call it sometimes Marvel's Batman. I disagree. I think that the mental problems has a lot of a character role in this. Like Mark Spector is insane, and Mark Spector has issues with real life. Like he doesn't know what is real and what isn't, and so when he starts to get influenced by an ancient Egyptian god Khonshu, and it tells him to become Moon Knight, I think that we have this character who doesn't know why they're doing the things that they're doing, or if they're even in control. He's playing insane. I'm glad that we have an actor who's awesome playing him.
Yeah.
But he's not my favorite Marvel character. There's no like
if you could
definitive
guess what
run.
the story will probably be. Not a clue.
Ethan Hawke plays the villain. Yeah. There's no definitive real Moon Knight storyline where I'm like, oh, that's the one they should base the story on.
Okay.
We'll just see what happens. Maybe Disney delayed the trailer because it's MLK Day, and maybe having like a dude running around in a white hood isn't the best idea for a trailer launch. But who knows? Maybe.
Didn't think about that.
Yeah, no, guys, maybe we shouldn't bring this trailer out quite yet.
That being said, I know Ian's been texting me all day. Where the hell is this trailer?
And
He's a busy guy.
during football
busy
too,
guy.
which is like, ooh.
Bolt T also says, "Hey, how do you introduce Moon Knight before Werewolf by Night?" Well, they already introduced Werewolf by Night. Did you not watch Raimi's Spider-Man 2? We had the astronaut who goes off and becomes.
Oh, you're thinking of Man-Wolf.
Oh, I'm talking about Man-Wolf. My bad.
J. Jonah Jameson Jr. 4 J's.
Deduct 7 points from Jonathan's score. Thank you.
Geekscape.
Daniel Campazano. Don't worry, Garrettscape's here. He's picking up the slack. Big Yank says Moon Knight should be rated R. let's not start
He
with
did
that.
rip off someone's face and in one
Well,
of his
I
most
mean-
recent runs.
did.
So
You know, if we're dealing with mental health, why not make it rated R?
Yeah, do a little. He's like a chimpanzee who just rips your face off.
Oh shit!
good lord.
Is that what that is? Is a face ripper offer? Is that
Yeah.
what the tool is?
I don't know who Ethan Hawke plays in the series, but I've heard like
Guess.
they're going to start introducing like biggies, quote unquote biggies, into the Marvel universe. Like
They're gonna
the
bring
Hood.
Biggie in.
Big
No, I'm
E.
like, well, Ian sends me these articles from these comic book websites, and
Trust me, I've written for some of
Mr.
them, and they're
Kerner.
not.
they're so bad. These
Yeah.
articles are so bad, and I'm
I
like,
know.
why is a
I've
grown
written some of
man
those.
sending this to me? And Jim Pagano, thank you so much, because John Jameson is Man-Wolf, Jack Russell is Werewolf by Night, like a Jack Russell Terrier, and yes, pleased to a show about that character.
They are doing
Ian,
something
Ian
about
sent
him.
me one where he's like, "Oh, the villain is going to be the Hood." It's like, oh, in the comic book website's like a major Marvel villain. Let me just go ahead and tell you, the Hood is not a major Marvel
No.
character. They've tried multiple times to make him like
really
the biggest
10
crime
years.
boss, and it's like, stop with the Hood.
It
He's a
just keeps
goon.
reminding me of Abed's thing with the cape, where in Community, where he's just like, "Bring back the cape."
I think
Yeah,
Ethan
we're
Hawke's
gonna
gonna
be
play
big.
Mephisto.
Oh,
I'm
okay, that
joking,
makes
I'm
sense.
joking,
That
I'm
checks
joking.
out.
Don't start with us.
Do it.
I hope
Start
they
it.
never
Start with
I hope
us,
they
master
never
of the
do
media. We know
Mephisto.
your game.
I hope they never do Mephisto now because I could care less
No,
about it now.
I truly think that
I love
they're
Mephisto.
bringing in Dark Strange and doing like a mashup. So it's not
Mhm.
exactly Mephisto, but I feel like Doctor Strange is going to have some kind of
You're talking
Mephisto.
about like Strange Prime in Mountains of Madness or whatever it is called, the Multiverse of Madness. Mountains of Madness is the Guillermo del Toro movie that never got off the ground
Yeah.
with James Cameron attached.
Just a bunch of giant rats.
Yeah, the Multiverse of Madness. So I was trying to explain to somebody everything that they're going to introduce in Multiverse of Madness. It was our
It's
good friend Dan. He listens to the show, and he comments sometimes in here. And he was texting me over Facebook Messenger yesterday, and he was saying that basically every unintroduced Marvel character that was in part of one of the Fox movies, like Hugh Jackman and Wolverine and this and that, were all going to show up in Multiverse of Madness. And I said, just stop it. It was some website.
Did
Some
you hear
Marvel
the
fanboy
I mean,
website
Well, that was
that
one
was
of the things that they
just
were
full
predicting
of
with
garbage.
No Way
They
Home.
were like, Dolph Lundgren's Punisher is going to be in
Heck
Multiverse of
yes.
Madness, and I was
Tom
like, shut
Jane.
up. They were like, Tom Jane Punisher was on
Wes
the
Where's
list,
Craven's
Poe
man.
for Grace?
and I just had to stop him
Bring
and be
in
like,
everyone.
listen, dude, stop going to these asinine websites where it's just this clickbait garbage.
There was a rumor that Ben Affleck got asked to come back as Daredevil, and I saw that and I thought, this man has literally said that being Batman broke him, and you think he's gonna, as much as I love Daredevil 2003, you think that man is gonna put the red leather back on for no.
But Colin Farrell, on the other hand, no, I'm kidding. I think the rumor I've heard, Geekscape, this is a rumor about your Multiverse of Madness, is that introduction to the Illuminati, and that we'll actually get Reed Richards and a possible
I've heard
Xavier
that, yeah.
introduced in some flash of the Illuminati, who are like all the good guys, smart people of the Marvel Universe working together to try and guide the Marvel Universe. And that, of course, includes like Tony Stark, who's not going to be in the Illuminati, Doctor Strange, Xavier, Reed Richards, Black Bolt of the Inhumans, and T'Challa, and Namor. So, I don't think we're going to get a couple of them.
There's a couple of people who we're going to be missing in that one,
A
but
couple
in
people
that
we're gonna
lineup.
be
But yeah,
missing. But I don't think the
It'll be
Illuminati
interesting.
stuff is silly.
Yeah.
Bolt T
Maybe the
says
biggest
Submariner,
retcon
yes,
of all
that would
time.
be Namor. Yeah. Matt Kelly says, I heard Multiverse of Madness will include the 1990 Captain America and the 1994 Roger Corman Fantastic Four. Well, if you don't get it in Multiverse of Madness, Geekscape, is go back in the Geekscape feed, and I had the entire cast of the Roger Corman Fantastic Four on this here podcast. So that's there for you if you don't get your fix on that one. I don't know, Garrett. You're the master of the media.
Can we start a rumor on here? Can we just say like
absolutely
Geekscape exclusive?
Yeah, we said we quit.
Joe Manganiello is coming
December.
back as Flash Thompson.
Joe Manganiello should come back as Flash.
He's coming back as Flash Thompson. You heard it here first. Act 3,
he can only
shows
punch. He can only
not
punch
as Venom,
in,
not as Venom, or you know.
No,
like
he can only
What
punch
if
in
Garrett's
slow
really
motion.
just predicting this and like we're just like,
Then
this is so funny.
Kevin
and,
Feige is gonna find me. He's gonna find me
What if
because I
this is
leaked
what
it.
if this is part of his turning things into reality for him, right? Like this is him, part of his journaling,
manifesting.
Manifesting. There you
Manifesting.
go. Yeah.
Mhm.
This is so geeks.
You're gonna end
manifest.
up working for The Simpsons and start
I love
predicting.
how I'm just
things.
making fun of like all this geek content, but it's really just some kid like trying to make a buck on clickbait. And he's like, stop it. I have to write these things. He's chained to a radiator in some basement somewhere. He has to write these stupid
I'll tell
clickbait
you exactly.
articles.
It's like they give you a prompt and they're like, write as much as you can, and you have to hit like a word minimum. And it's like you're like buffering for like just letters and numbers.
You know who runs that? You know who runs that website, Katie? Mephisto. That because that is hell. That is hell.
No, I know. And you get pennies on the dollar because it's like it's amount of clicks that you get. That's how much you get paid. I think I made like 90 cents from like 3 articles at one point, and I was like, yeah, maybe not.
That's how much Shane has made on Ethereum by grinding on one of his computers.
That's how much Shane has made.
Shane's been mining Ethereum. He's like, there's gold in those NFT hills and the crypto hills, and he's mining Ethereum with one of his computers in Alaska. He's probably made 90 cents in the last 2 years on Ethereum, and he's like, oh yeah, it's a decimal of a decimal of a decimal.
He didn't have.
It's gonna be great. You're so positive, Garrett. Instead of just outright calling him an idiot.
Yeah, because Garrett is now predicting that Shane's going to be a billionaire with these NFTs.
You know?
No, listen,
like,
Garrett.
Be nice now.
Yeah, those 90 cents, a lot of it went to his power bill for mining that stuff. He paid $90 towards his power bill to make 90 cents of Ethereum. And both he's like, hashtag boomer alert. This isn't hashtag boomer alert. This is hashtag I'm not falling for a stupid Ponzi scheme alert. There, that's that.
When's the Geekscape NFT coming out?
Yeah, we're waiting for it, man.
Yeah,
I think
might have been discussed earlier today.
Oh,
isn't that right, Katie? It actually was. But we'll just have to wait until April 1st for that one. Matt Kelly is in the comments like spilling his show into our show. No, Matt, listen, if you want to subscribe to Horror Movie Night Geekscape and find out what Matt thought of Scream, he liked it. Just go ahead and subscribe to it because he's over here just having a conversation in the comments like, Scream was fantastic. My thoughts will be on YouTube next week. Then stop. Let's save it.
I like it. It's like a little scrolling Chiron. He's just like, and up next week on my podcast.
Hey guys, over here. Listen, so when Krystina went to fight Black Kyrgyzstan,
I knew you were gonna say,
and I was looking for, I was like, we should get Garrett to fill in. Matt goes, I'll do it. Like, of course you'll do it. Wait, somebody left this microphone in the middle of the freeway. That's how we're gonna kill Matt one day.
Mickey Mouse now?
If we ever had, listen, you know how like Batman had files on the entire Justice League? That's what I have. If I ever have to take out a Geekscape, I've had that from the beginning. If I ever have to take out anybody at Geekscape, I know exactly how to do it because I know their weaknesses. Matt Kelly is easy. I take a microphone, put it on a stand, I'm gonna put it in the middle of traffic. And sooner or later, Matt's going to be like, hey, look, there's an open mic stand. And he's going to walk out there and try and start a podcast. Next thing you know, Mac truck, boom, he's done. You think I'm not the Batman of Geek? You think I'm the Captain America of Geekscape? No, my friends, I'm the Batman. I know how to take them all out right here. Yep. So, Katie, keep enjoying those cats you're feeding because pretty soon you will be feeding those cats. How long do you think she's been dead? Where's the other cat? It crawls out of her mouth. Yep, that's you know where they're gonna see. You know when that's gonna happen? NCIS with Mark Harmon. It's all coming together. Yep, it's all there. And Matt Kelly does want to say, "Hey, Geekscape, if you're watching this live, do make sure to watch his Daria video. It's a half hour. this week on Geekscape TV. He's been busting his butt for this Daria video, so please watch it. Matt also says that's a great Matt Kelly impersonation. I just wasn't aware I sounded like Little Billy. Yeah, well,
There's that.
oh no. All right, let's wrap this up because it's become abusive at this point to do a show this long. Garrett, anything you want us to like take away? Where can we follow you on the social media?
You can follow me on Instagram, Garrett Briones, and on Twitter, Garrett S. Briones. My show, Masters of the Media, should be coming back in a few weeks once Jack gets here, and it will be on one of the 38 podcasts on the Geekscape network. And also, myself and Jack are working. We're working for Matt Kelly. He's our YouTube boss.
Where's my video?
Pumping out videos. So we have a video coming out next month on Netflix's Daredevil. And then we'll have another one coming in March. We are still working on that one as well. But yeah, you can just find me on Geekscape, trying to take over, make it Garrettscape, rebuild it in my beautiful image. And
I'm okay with that. I think the Geekscapists are okay with that too. After having you on, dude, I think they're like, yeah, when is Jonathan going to go the fuck away? That old man needs to retire. He needs to retire. And then let's get Garrett up on here and start up the NFT scape and let's get him going. let's get the Garrettscape going. I'm okay with that. Katie, where can we find you?
You can find me in most places, mostly on Fortnite this week because work's a little bit slower, and it's okay. But I am at L Sassypants, ELSASSYPANTS. Unless it's TikTok, then it's with a Z.
Someone said some things they weren't supposed to say.
Nope, someone showed some things they weren't supposed to show. Not me, my fiance.
Your subscribers just exploded. You know where we can find you? NCIS. Mark Harmon, hopefully you come on a future episode of Geekscape. You know where to find us. Geekscape TV on the YouTube, on the Twitch. You can find us on Facebook. Just search for Geekscape. You'll find our groups. You'll find our pages. You'll find all that stuff. You'll find people to talk to. We're on Instagram and Twitter and all that. So just search for Geekscape. I'm Jonathan Lennon, your host. I hope you've enjoyed this. We'll be back next week. And yeah, Geekscape forever. Don't hate, create. All that nice stuff. That really nice stuff. Okay. Cool. Derek just said 38 podcasts. Did we lose a bunch?
Yeah.
And Matt says, I'm quitting Geekscape to work for the Garrettscape. Well, good. He'll be slightly less abusive than I am. All right. Bye, everybody.